Ford has just thrown a grenade into the global car market, and the shockwaves are already shaking the entire auto industry. What they announced wasn't a tweak, wasn't an upgrade, and wasn't another standard PR headline. It was a full-on strategy shift that could force every major automaker to rethink their next decade. And the craziest part, almost no one saw it coming. For months, Ford has been under pressure, EV competition tightening, hybrid demand exploding, and consumers frustrated with prices climbing like a rocket. But instead of backing down, Ford just flipped the script. Their new plan doesn't just target the future of cars, it aims to rewrite it. Imagine a vehicle lineup designed from scratch to be cheaper, smarter, faster to produce, and more flexible than anything currently on the road. That's what Ford claims they're building, and if they pull this off, the rest of the industry is in serious trouble. At the center of this bombshell is Ford's pivot toward what they call skunkworks engineering, a secretive, fast-moving team operating outside the company's usual bureaucracy. This team has been quietly working on a radically simplified EV platform designed to slash production costs and beat competitors who are bleeding cash, trying to make electric vehicles profitable. And here's the kicker. Ford says this new platform will allow them to launch multiple vehicles, including a low-cost EV that could hit the market years before other automakers are ready to compete on price. This isn't just about cheaper EVs, it's about changing the entire manufacturing blueprint. Ford wants to build cars with fewer parts, modular components, and a production system that can pivot instantly between EV, hybrid, and combustion powertrains. That means flexibility, something legacy automakers desperately need but rarely achieve. And if Ford truly cracks this code, they'll be able to adapt to market shifts faster and more efficiently than rivals who are still stuck in traditional, slow-moving manufacturing cycles. But here's where things get even more explosive. Ford isn't just targeting Tesla, they're going straight after the growing wave of low-cost Chinese EV makers who are sweeping across Europe and beginning to eye the US market. These brands are producing shockingly cheap electric cars, and Ford knows that unless they act now, American automakers could be outpriced in their own backyard. This new platform is Ford's counterattack, its way of proving it can fight on price and technology without sacrificing quality. And let's talk about timing, because Ford didn't drop this bombshell randomly. The car market is in chaos, EV demand is shifting, hybrids are surging, consumers want efficiency without the hassle, and the buying landscape is changing month by month. While other automakers are freezing projects or delaying launches, Ford has decided to accelerate. They're betting on innovation when everyone else is tapping the brakes, and that bold move could give them a massive first-mover advantage if their strategy pays off. Dealers have been quietly briefed, suppliers are scrambling to adjust, and analysts are warning that this could trigger a ripple effect across the entire industry. If Ford succeeds in cutting EV costs significantly while keeping performance high, every other automaker, from GM to Toyota to Hyundai, will be forced to respond. And when that happens, the market we know today won't look anything like the market we'll see in just a few years. And what makes this especially wild is that Ford isn't just investing in new cars, they're redesigning their entire business model. That includes software, battery sourcing, production lines, dealer strategies, and even how they roll out updates to customers. Everything is on the table. Everything is being reimagined. It's a full-scale transformation disguised as a single announcement. And as Ford reshapes its entire strategy, the company is also zeroing in on something the industry has struggled with for years: profitability. Most automakers lose money on EVs, but Ford claims this new platform will finally break that cycle. Fewer parts mean faster assembly. Faster assembly means lower labor costs. Lower costs mean competitive pricing without sacrificing margins. It sounds simple, but in the auto world, whoever cracks this formula becomes the one everyone else must chase. Ford is betting that they're about to be that company. Here's the twist. Ford isn't just relying on engineering breakthroughs, they're also overhauling the technology that goes inside these vehicles. Instead of stacking car interiors with expensive hardware, Ford's working on a streamlined software-first approach. Think fewer buttons, fewer chips, fewer redundant systems, and more centralized computing. This means smoother updates, quicker fixes, and long-term cost savings. Even better, it positions Ford to compete in the software-driven future that Tesla currently dominates. If Ford can deliver a stable, intuitive, upgradable software ecosystem, they immediately become more than a traditional automaker. They become a tech competitor, and this shift is already influencing Ford's hybrid lineup. While some companies are abandoning hybrids entirely, Ford is doubling down. They see hybrids as the bridge consumers actually want, a practical middle ground between gas and EV. With their new modular approach, Ford can drop hybrid systems into more models without reinventing each vehicle from scratch. That means more hybrid options, lower prices, and faster rollouts. And if this hybrid surge continues, Ford will be miles ahead of brands that underestimated the demand. The biggest shock, though, is how Ford plans to deploy this strategy globally. The company hinted that these new lower-cost EVs will launch not only in the US, but also in Europe and emerging markets, regions where affordability determines survival. This move positions Ford as a global disruptor at a time when many Western automakers are retreating from international competition. Instead of running, Ford is charging forward, aiming to meet low-cost Chinese EVs head-on with a weapon they've never had before: price parity and investors. They're suddenly paying attention. Ford's announcement has sparked speculation about potential partnerships, battery agreements, new factories, and even licensing deals. If Ford's platform is as flexible and low-cost as they claim, they could eventually license it to other companies, something Tesla has considered but hasn't fully executed. Imagine Ford becoming the supplier of EV architecture to smaller automakers around the world. That would flip the industry hierarchy overnight. Meanwhile, competitors are scrambling behind the scenes. Some are reevaluating canceled EV programs. Others are trying to negotiate faster battery contracts. A few are quietly studying Ford's strategy, trying to figure out whether to copy it, counter it, or pray it doesn't work. Because if Ford delivers even half of what they're promising, the entire landscape of who leads and who follows could change. And this brings us to the part of the announcement that's making the industry the most nervous: the timeline. Ford isn't talking about 2030 or sometime in the future. They're talking about the next couple of years, meaning the clock has already started, meaning factories are being retooled, meaning prototypes are already being tested behind closed doors. Ford isn't dreaming about a new era. They're building it right now. And what's coming next from Ford's secretive skunkworks team might be even more disruptive, because rumors are swirling that this skunkworks team is developing a breakthrough battery strategy that could completely flip the cost equation. Not a futuristic experimental battery that's a decade away, but a practical, scalable chemistry that reduces reliance on rare minerals and expensive manufacturing steps. Ford executives hinted that the goal isn't to build the best battery ever created, it's to build the smartest one, something inexpensive, durable, and optimized for the real-world driving that most people actually do. And if that battery lets Ford produce EVs that undercut today's prices by thousands of dollars, competitors will have no choice but to slash their own prices or abandon certain markets altogether. And that's exactly the kind of move Ford is preparing for. They're expecting price wars, they're expecting resistance, they're expecting a global shakeup, and they're openly saying they're ready for it. The company has been quietly restructuring its international supply chain, signing new mineral deals, and pushing for faster local production to avoid the logistical nightmares that have crushed so many automakers in the last 4 years. This level of preparation suggests Ford isn't just experimenting. They're preparing for a fight they fully expect to win. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Ford dealers are being warned that the next generation of vehicles will be unlike anything they've sold before. The lineup will be lighter, more efficient, and far less complicated, which means lower service costs and fewer warranty headaches. That changes the economics for dealerships. And while some are nervous, many are excited because a simpler car that costs less to build can also be priced more aggressively. And aggressive pricing means volume. If Ford hits high volume production with these next-gen vehicles, the market share shift could be massive. But here's where things get even more intense. Ford also confirmed they're rethinking what Made in America means for the future of manufacturing. They're pushing for new domestic battery plants, new domestic component suppliers, and new domestic software hubs. It's a strategic move designed not only to increase quality and reduce shipping costs, but to take advantage of federal incentives that can dramatically lower sticker prices for buyers. That combination, local production plus strategic incentives, could allow Ford to sell EVs at prices that seemed impossible just a year ago. And this entire shift isn't happening in a vacuum. Every other automaker is watching, analyzing, and calculating their next step. GM is reconsidering its EV rollout strategy. Toyota is accelerating hybrid development. European automakers are panicking over the rise of Chinese imports. Tesla is slashing prices and fast-tracking new models. And in the middle of all this chaos, Ford just threw a massive wrench into everyone's plans by showing they're willing to reinvent their entire structure faster than anyone expected. But here's what Ford hasn't talked about publicly, the real wild card that could determine whether this plan becomes a historic triumph or a colossal disaster. Because behind the excitement, the pressure is building, and what Ford is planning next could push the entire auto market into a direction no one is prepared for. Because ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. See cookie preferences. Ford is gearing up to launch what insiders are calling the unified architecture era, a turning point where nearly every new model, EV, hybrid, or gas, shares the same core foundation. This changes everything. Instead of designing each vehicle from scratch, Ford can now develop multiple models at once, all built on a single flexible system. That means faster releases, lower R&D spending, and the ability to pivot instantly if market trends shift. For consumers, it means more options, lower prices, and vehicles that feel modern instead of outdated at launch. For competitors, it means panic, because Ford is about to operate with the speed of a tech company instead of a traditional automaker. And here's where the bombshell gets even bigger. Ford's unified architecture isn't just about hardware, it's being built to support a centralized brain that controls everything from power management to safety systems to the in-car user interface. This means updates roll out faster, bugs get fixed sooner, and new features arrive without needing expensive hardware changes. Think of it like a smartphone for the road, except built with Ford's rugged DNA instead of fragile tech gimmicks. If this system works as intended, Ford could leapfrog every competitor still stuck juggling dozens of disconnected modules in their vehicles. But Ford's advantages won't stop at technology and cost. The company is also positioning itself to dominate the commercial and fleet market, a sector that quietly generates huge profits and influences national buying trends. With modular architecture, Ford can produce delivery vans, work trucks, rideshare vehicles, and service cars with unprecedented speed. Fleet managers love reliability and simplicity, and Ford plans to offer both on a level the market hasn't seen: faster repairs, cheaper parts, less downtime. This is a dream scenario for businesses, and once fleets adopt Ford's next-gen systems, the ripple effect will push thousands of everyday drivers toward Ford-branded vehicles by pure familiarity alone. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Ford is preparing a marketing push that's expected to be aggressive, proud, and unapologetically disruptive. This won't be the soft, safe branding automakers typically rely on. Ford wants to send a message: we aren't following the market, we're leading it. Expect bold promises, confident timelines, and a tone that signals Ford is finally stepping back into the role it once owned: the innovator, the disruptor, the company that forces everyone else to respond rather than react. Executives already hinted that the next wave of announcements will include a new era of affordability, speed, and software dominance, an era where Ford intends to close the gap between traditional buyers and the tech-savvy generation entering the market. They're crafting cars for families, workers, students, and first-time buyers who want future-proof technology without paying luxury-level prices. And if Ford delivers on this promise, the brand could become the default choice for an entire new generation of drivers. But the real shocker, the part the industry is bracing for, is Ford's upcoming reveal tied to its long-term global strategy. It's something insiders say will redefine how American automakers compete worldwide, something that could shift alliances, reshape pricing, and redraw the competitive map for the next decade. And according to those same insiders, that reveal is coming sooner than anyone expects. And the whispers suggest Ford is preparing a strategic move that could blindside every automaker on the planet: a direct partnership with an international battery and software powerhouse. Not a minor collaboration, not a supply agreement, something far bigger, something that would fuse Ford's manufacturing strength with cutting-edge tech capabilities that would have taken years, maybe decades, for Ford to build alone. Industry analysts are already speculating that this partnership could be the key to unlocking ultra-low-cost EVs, faster global production, and a software ecosystem that rivals the efficiency and polish of the world's top tech giants. If Ford pulls this off, it won't just be a partnership, it'll be an industry-level shockwave. It could mean faster battery innovation, shorter development cycles, and a shared supply chain that slashes costs across multiple continents. Competitors would wake up to a new reality where Ford isn't just an American automaker, they're a global tech mobility force with reach far beyond what the company ever had before. And that's terrifying for companies still relying on old-school strategies. But Ford isn't stopping at technology and production. They're also preparing an aggressive expansion into emerging markets where demand for affordable vehicles is exploding, countries where EV adoption is growing, infrastructure is improving fast, and buyers crave modern features without luxury prices. Ford is quietly positioning itself to be the first Western automaker to deliver mass-market EVs to regions that rivals have overlooked. And if they capture those markets early, they gain millions of loyal customers before competitors even arrive. This global push also ties into Ford's new battery recycling initiatives, which aim to use reclaimed materials to lower production costs and reduce supply chain volatility. Imagine a loop where old Ford batteries help build new Ford EVs, dramatically cutting dependency on foreign mineral suppliers. That's not just smart strategy, it's a future-proof move that prepares Ford for a world where battery materials become the new oil. Whoever controls that loop controls the industry. And while all of this unfolds, Ford is preparing to unveil a new consumer platform that brings drivers deeper into the Ford ecosystem. A single app, a single login, and a single interface that connects your vehicle, your charging, your maintenance, your updates, your navigation, even your financing. One system that ties everything together. This isn't about convenience, it's about control. The more connected the driver becomes to Ford's ecosystem, the harder it becomes to switch brands. That's long-term customer retention on a scale legacy automakers have struggled to achieve for decades. But what's coming next? What Ford is planning to reveal as the centerpiece of this entire strategy is something so bold, so unexpected, that it has insiders saying it could become the defining moment of Ford's modern era. A move that may shock investors, thrill customers, and force every global automaker to recalibrate their entire playbook. And according to those close to the project, that reveal is closer than anyone realizes, because Ford is preparing to debut a next-generation flagship vehicle built entirely on this new architecture. A model designed to showcase everything the company has been quietly building toward. Insiders say this vehicle won't just be another EV or hybrid, it will be the proof, the physical embodiment of Ford's new identity. The technology, the battery strategy, the software platform, the design overhaul, the manufacturing revolution, all of it merges in this single product. And here's the part that's blowing analysts' minds. This flagship is rumored to be shockingly affordable, positioned not as a luxury halo car, but as a mass market disruptor aimed directly at the price-sensitive segment that every automaker desperately wants to win. This move flips conventional wisdom upside down. Usually, automakers debut their newest innovations in high-end models, slowly trickling them down over years. But Ford is going in reverse. They're putting their most advanced technology into a car the average driver can actually afford. That means millions of people could get access to cutting-edge software, next-gen batteries, and a fully modern driving experience without paying premium-level prices. It's a democratization of innovation, and it could pressure every automaker to follow suit or risk looking outdated overnight. And if this flagship does what insiders claim, it could redefine Ford's place in the global rankings. Imagine a vehicle that charges faster than expected, updates constantly, costs less to maintain, drives smoother than older EVs, and offers real-world range instead of exaggerated marketing numbers. Add in the affordability factor, and Ford could corner the mainstream EV and hybrid market in a way that even Tesla hasn't achieved. It's the exact kind of breakthrough that takes a company from legacy automaker trying to catch up to industry leader shaping the future. But Ford isn't just hoping this flagship succeeds. They're preparing a rollout strategy designed to hit the industry like a hammer. Early production is rumored to begin at multiple plants simultaneously, drastically reducing the risk of slow ramp-ups.